uppercut, uppercut, sonic boom! Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and if you're lucky enough, indeed, to be doing it too. Welcome back to channel. I'm Bushkin, and today we're going to be looking at the M762, why it's so cool right now, how the recent patch affected it, how the 90 frames per second versus 60 frames per second thing has really made this a gun that you need to wake up and pay attention to, and what you need to do to get the most out of your ever-loving beryl M762. Now, the recent patch, if you've been living under a rock, you wouldn't know this, or if you're one of those humans that don't subscribe to my channel, you wouldn't know this, because I've actually forwarded all this info onto PUBG Mobile now via Ocho, and they're going to have a look at it because they were as surprised as I was when they found out. But the recent update allowed a bit of a discrepancy to creep into the client. The M762, when firing at 60 frames per second, it'll clear a clip in 2.88 seconds. When it's firing at 90 frames per second, which is the new feature in update 1.0, then it will clear the clip at 2.57 seconds. Now that, boys and girls, is about 0.3 of a second, which is a lot in a game where the time to kill is often 0.3 of a second. Like, that's a lot of rate of fire increase. It's a big buff. I mean, it's over 10% in terms of a rate of fire buff. That's a lot. And a lot of people don't realize this. If you're running 90 frames per second, you really need to pay attention to this. Now, I did a video. It's got 60, 70,000 views. If you haven't watched it, go and check it out. It lists, I tested 10 weapons. 5 of them had changes due to the 60-90. And they weren't all good. For example, the Tommy gun fired quicker at 60 frames than it did at 90. The Graza fired quicker at 60 frames than it did at 90. Long story short, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but it's got to do with your device and how well it syncs up. I think it's the refresh rate with the frames and how well they mesh together, and tick rates involved, and it all happens, and basically all you need to know is that there's a difference. And if you know that number, then you know that you should be running the M762. Why? Well, it's very much a well-dropped Graza right now. It's only ever so slightly slower than the Graza to clear 30 rounds in a clip. And that's pretty freaking scary when you think about it. It is a very, very big bopping weapon. It's a weapon that you can get absolutely anywhere. Now, obviously, although it's nearly as fast as the Graza, it only has a round that does 45.9 damage at 0 range, whereas the Graza's gun will do 47.9 damage. And that's a big, big difference. But look at it this way. Someone firing an M416 would normally fire at the same rate of fire as you. But if you're firing a beryl M762 at 90 frames per second, and they're firing an M416 at 60 frames per second, you're firing 10% faster with a round that does 5% more damage. This is a big number, and the most common weapon that you're going to come up against is an M416. In fact, it's the reason I think running the M762 right now is such a flat-out winner. It's a lovely proposition that you end up in a game where the other guy's running a gun that's just not as good in the close as you are. And I don't know how long this is going to go on for. They did patch this in PUBG PC, but of course, as you know, I've already done a video where I outlined how low-end devices suffer from low frames per second. As far as I know, that's never been fixed either. So there is a huge loophole here and a huge opportunity for players with higher-end devices to take advantage of this. And also, if you're able to run Smooth Extreme, then you can run a Tommy gun instead of running a beryl and get the advantage from that, because the Tommy fires faster in that mode. And this is where the beryl is really key. Like, there's a guy, hears me pull the pin, he's gonna push on down. Here he goes. Whoa, jump, jump, jump. I think he's got an AUG. And boom, boom, boom. It's a lovely, lovely thing to have on your side. Now, this is a game I played with Mr. Ouija, running the M762, and I've just got back from doing a whole heap of real life stuff, and I'm not back to strength yet. I'm still getting my gear together. You can see they're pushing in really hard, and I'm just like, I don't want to get stuck over there and get third-partied by them below the lip of that ridgeline there, and they actually have a lovely overlook now because they're behind. This is a great example, actually, tactically, of when a strong point can become a weak point due to not being flexible enough. Now we've got our car there so we can get rid of this. You can see the guy's got a glacial, Mr. Ouija taking the glacial hit markers there. But their ridgeline runs all the way to the left and right of our position, and on the left flank it's actually overlooked slightly by this. Now that means that it's very, very hard for us to push across without exposing ourselves and getting third-partied. And so what we're going to do here is quite simply bugger off and take our M762 and our M24 up to the top of the mountain. And this is something that a lot of people don't do. A lot of people will take an engagement and they will be static with it. They either are the aggressor or the defender. And they never think about just saying, I don't really want to fight here, I'm going to move. And that's exactly what we're doing. You can see the zone was just about to shift, and indeed it did shift away from us. I'm going to drive through the haystack so it gives us cover from the rear. Very hard to get rid of us with that kind of, you know, a path taken out. And then we're going to go up to the middle of the mountain here and work some magic. And I also want to point out that I was running an M762 and an M24. Back on the M762 train, it is a wonderful gun up close and personal, but at range it can be questionable at best. And this kind of range here is obviously no good. It doesn't have the shell speed for this kind of malarkey, and it doesn't have the recoil profile to be consistent at this range. It's doable, but you've got to be lying down and all that kind of thing. And it brings us up to another thing that I want to talk about as well. The shell velocity on the M762 is nowhere near the M416. I'm not talking about this replacing the M4 as a spraying weapon. I'm saying as a primary close quarters combat machine. Why it's also very, very nice is that if you've got, say, a Uzi. Uzi can deal with one target at a time. It can't handle multiple targets. The M762 can quite comfortably clear 2 or 3 targets given the right set of circumstances on one clip or one magazine before someone gets triggered again. And that means it has more versatility for you. It's far more adaptable to the situation, and you don't have to worry so much about getting caught out in late games where you're dealing with multiple third-party things when you're playing duos and stuff like this. And this is actually the guys that were pushing up on us before. They've gone all the way around, and here's what I'm talking about. Like, I got a headshot in there. Mr. Ouija's using a beryl as well, I think. We both completely miss. Completely missed. Just got one headshot. That guy didn't go down, and that's the gun. That is literally the downfall of this weapon. But then you're going to see in close and in the tight, it absolutely dominates, and that's again the wonderful positive of the M762. Quite apart from the fact that it's a fun gun, it's aesthetically and audio-wise an excellent weapon. Like, it really does sound cool. You know, there's a lot going for it. I did some testing as well with shell velocity or bullet speed, and I came up with some interesting stuff, which I'm going to do a video on very soon, basically about the way PUBG Mobile versus PUBG PC and drop-off. And that's going to make for an interesting video, but I just don't know how I'm going to frame it, and I don't know the terms that I'm going to put it together with. It's a tough one to fully get a handle on. There we go. Good work, Mr. M762. Only the one left. Get Mr. Ouija up, and then we're going to clear the last bloke. And we do actually do some controlled bursts on the last guy, who's a target at quite a decent range. I think it's about 110 meters. Moving on in. And this is late season too, so I was surprised in this game to come up against so many people that were like kind of competent. It was a bit weird. The game overall has just got better. Everyone's just got better, and there's so many people now who just don't give a rat's about ranking. Like, if you've ranked like I have for 14 seasons, you don't give a rat's about ranking anymore. Like, if you played like I have, you couldn't care less. You just literally couldn't care less. It's no big deal. I'm Bushka. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. That would help me. Here's our amigo running in down the hill here. Just looking, there he is. Red dot now. Controlled. Till next time, look after yourselves and stay safe on the battlefield. Bye for now.